For the uplink transfer, we can't schedule that because we have a bunch of different mobile systems that are competing for access. So unlike in the downlink where there's just one transmitter and the downlink transmissions can be scheduled by the access point. There is no central mobile system to schedule all of the different uplink transmissions. So instead, what's used is one of the collision avoidance methods that we've talked about in the past. In particular, in this case, carrier sense multiple access with collision avoidance. And if you recall, in that method, first the mobile system senses to see that there are no other transmissions taking place on the network before it transmits. You can still have a collision if both are if two mobile systems are listening and decide that the network is free and that they can transmit. They could still transmit at the same time, and then you would have a collision. In that case, the mobile systems determine that there was a collision because there's a lack of an acknowledgement from the access point. So if the mobile system doesn't get the acknowledgement back, it waits a random amount of time. Again, going through the procedure of sensing that the radio link is free before then retrying the transmission. Hopefully with the random delay, you won't have a second collision. You can't have a fixed delay because if both systems transmit packets of the same length at the same time and there's a collision and then they wait the same amount of time before transmitting, you're going to have a second collision. So that's why they use the random delay in CSMA CA. Another technique that could be used is actually for the mobile system to send a request to send to the access point before actually transmitting data, and then the mobile system would have to wait for a clear to send response from the access point. Once it receives that, it knows that the channel is free and that it can transmit and no collision will occur. Of course, you can still have collisions in the request to send packets, so there's still other issues. This kind of shows a timing diagram of the request to send, clear to send method, where the mobile system actually waits a diffs amount of time after it senses that the medium is free before it sends the request to send, and then it waits for a clear to send from the access point before actually sending its data. The data has to be included in a time interval called the network allocation vector, which is a time interval of 32,767 milliseconds, or about 3.3 seconds. And then once the access point actually receives the data, that access point sends an acknowledgement back to the mobile system. Okay, the uplink data format is exactly the same as the downlink format, with the same structure of the MAC layer. There are, in the original 802.11 specification, now called 802.11a, multiple transmission rates were supported using different modulation types. And then one of the things you do have to be careful of is you should make sure that in some cases some of the frequencies used by household appliances can interfere with your access point with your Wi-Fi, and actually, due to collisions, affect the quality of your network. So here's some recommended distances between various household appliances and an access point. Okay. In the next little video, we'll talk about the different modes of 802, different generations essentially of 802.11 that have been developed for household use. So these are all the different variants of the 802.11 protocols.